Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Career Tip Tuesday. We are your co-host, Sherry Stinson, Makeda Matthews with Black Career Women's Network, and we are excited to be here for this Tuesday's conversation. You all know the drill. When you come in, please let us know where you are tuning in from, and we are going to have an open conversation today. I'm so glad that Makeda is back with us for our second episode of 2026.
Hey
I've been
y'all,
missing my
Happy
girl
New
Michelle
Year.
here. I'll be all
I
solo,
know,
y'all.
I know, I am so sorry. Hey y'all, good to be
That's
back. Good to be back.
So McKee and I were talking about what do we want to talk about today? What do we want to share with you all and make sure we have a great dialogue about it? And so we were talking about a couple of things, but we thought that this would be a great topic to talk about, which is alignment versus titles. Really thinking about
Mhm.
instead of focusing on chasing titles or looking for that next title, focusing on making sure that the role is in alignment with who you are. And I was telling Makeda before we came on that I had been doing a lot of research and looking at a lot of the trends, workplace trends for 2026, which we did in our Career Tip Tuesday a couple of weeks ago, and talking about workplace trends. But then I saw a couple more articles since our last Career Tip Tuesday around this, which I want to kind of get a well-rounded list of all the trends. I'm seeing different things, but this one stuck out to me around, you know, um, don't chase titles and focus on making sure the role is in alignment, which seems to be what a lot of um, candidates are looking for in the roles that they're looking for jobs. And also too, just overall, I think that's what employees are starting to look at, is making sure that what they're doing is in alignment, or now they're starting to see that what they do now is no longer in alignment, because
That's
that's
right.
happening a lot too.
That's right. That's
um,
right.
so we're going to talk more around what that could possibly look like in terms of when is it no longer in alignment, and maybe when we chase a title and we get there and then we're like, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So have you experienced that before, Makita, where you were chasing a title and got there and was like, what the hell have I done?
Uh, Absolutely. I didn't even get the title, right? I was chasing a title, right? And I stopped right here. The title was here. I stopped right here because it didn't even the progression of the career that I knew I had to get on, the trajectory, excuse me, that I knew I had to get on. I wasn't even feeling that, but I knew so early, but I tried and I continued to get there. And I was so unhappy, and I was not utilizing my gifts how I thought that I needed to utilize them, irregardless of what the company believed, right? Like, we know how we need to be utilized and how our gifts can be utilized for the greatest impact. We know, and it's our responsibility to tell our employers. But
Right.
um, I stopped right here and I said, mm-mm. And that's really when I had to get me some mentors, and I had to get me some my little professional board of directors, and say, this is how I'm feeling. Um, Here are the skills that I have. Not even quite sure what I want to do yet, but what works, what could help. Here's what I'm interested in. What can I do? Right? Because some of us work in such large organizations, we don't even know teams exist. But some
Right.
of our mentors, some of our mentors and our champions do. But that was a long-winded answer. Yes, is the short answer.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get so caught up in wanting to have a specific title and not
Mhm.
thinking about what that title will cost us, or
Yes.
what really comes along
Yes.
with having that specific title,
Yes.
and I think
Yeah.
we need to think more clearly through around what all that looks like, and being very strategic. I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves enough grace to
Mhm.
to say that we don't have to just accept anything. And I think that the
We
way that
don't.
the workplace is shifting now, and the way that careers are growing and evolving, I think that's part of now what people are thinking about.
Yeah, yeah. You just made me think about something in terms of when you said we don't have to just accept anything. I think about that in the terms of dating, but we got to think about that in terms of professional standards. We
Mm,
have to have those too. We can't just accept. anything, because that's going to be to the detriment of our mental health, of our emotional health, sometimes our physical health. So
So
professional standards.
I want to share a couple of things that because we always give our little bullet point tips, right? So I
Hmm.
want to start first with giving a couple of things about signs that you're no longer is in alignment, and then we'll share some things about why alignment matters. Um, in terms of not just having a title, why it's important that it matters. So the first thing I just want to just kind of put out there first is that if you're in a role and your impact is invisible, that's like a sign, right? And you have to be understand it's almost like if you say I wrote that report or I did a
Hmm.
PowerPoint presentation, I got no feedback or whatever. You want to think specifically around what how often does that will that happen? Is it a one off or was it just an isolated incident or is it consistently happening?
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
um, if your impact is invisible or if you're not feeling that you feel like you put so much heart and soul and effort into it and then but it didn't make an impact, you got to start paying attention to who's valuing the work that you're doing and who's not.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another one is your role keeps expanding without authority. I think this is important. Do you want to talk about that? Because I saw your face, Makeda. What?
Ooh. Trauma, right? But
Yeah, that was
really,
trauma.
really quickly
Oh,
before we
that was
get
so
on that,
funny.
I don't think we said, ladies, if you are watching, let us know who you are and where you're from in the chat, please, please. Okay, so role keeps on expanding without authority. Again, I'm going to go back to this concept of professional standards. Um, you are the go-to person. You are clearly a person that somebody that folks can rely on, and they know that you can get work done. But with everything that you're doing, you should somehow, some way, you should be getting awarded. You should be getting a seat at the table, so to speak,
Mhm.
or some sort of compensation, or some sort of um, um, this goes back to the title, or promotion of some sort, right? But if you're not, that means that there is a lack of value that others are seeing in you. But they want your gifts, but they don't value you. And
Yeah.
you again, it is your responsibility to stop that, right? And so anytime that's happening, anybody wants to give you a person to manage, more work to do, less scope creep, scope increase, whatever, then it is on you to say, okay, well, is there more compensation?
Mhm.
Is there a promotion? Is there some sort of, what is the benefit that you need to be able to get that done? Do I
Yeah,
now get a seat at the table?
I'm
Am
glad
I,
you said that.
you know? Yeah, yeah. It's I think us in middle management have seen this quite often. I think we've seen it quite often, but again, Sherry talks about all the time, and I think we have a course on this in terms of speaking up for yourself,
Mhm. Now advocating for yourself and you have that
advocating for yourself.
yeah,
Right.
that needs to be a part of your whole, core driving principles when it comes to your career.
Yeah.
Advocating, protecting your career,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being able to making sure that everything, and that goes to this last one. Well, before we go into what's in alignment, is your growth is stalled. If you see that your growth is
Mhm.
stalled, right, you feel it
Mhm.
before you probably actually see it because you're moving
That's right.
probably so quickly.
That's
But
right.
that's a clear sign, definitely, that you no longer, because you can have the title, but then you're not going anywhere. It's like, okay, that this other person's going to be in the job until they die, and you're going to have not have a
Yeah.
opportunity to be in the role. What does that mean for you?
That's
Do you
right.
stick around for that, or do you go somewhere else? So I think
That's
that's
right.
um,
I agree. And again, I think this is a part of your, your strategic planning before you take new roles and
mhm,
before you go to new companies. Um, we really need to ask, and then we know things change, but we really need to ask HR, we really need to ask the hiring manager and leadership, um, what is the trajectory of this role? What does progression and growth typically look like, right? So
Yeah.
now you have an understanding of what the basis should be or what you can expect. And again, if that's not happening, you know that there's a gap, right?
Yep.
You know that there's a gap. So I'm saying it's on you, but it is. We have to take our careers into our own hands. It is on you to understand why that gap exists, and then if you know it doesn't make sense, or there's a lack of clarity, um, then it might be time for you to go. It might
Yeah.
be time for you to consider some other things.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too, just to give you a little bit more clarity on when we're talking about, for those of you who just now joining us, we're talking about, alignment versus titles, not chasing titles, but focusing on finding alignment in the
Mm.
roles. Titles without alignment can trap you
Yeah.
because if you're focused on just having that title, what are you selling your soul for? And if
Mm-hmm.
you know it doesn't feel right. And
Mm-hmm.
so these are some of the things that I think are important to uncover, and
Mm-hmm.
being true to yourself when you feel like it's not right, and then don't feel trapped. And we allow sometimes, we know we got to pay bills, we know we have these responsibilities, but we also have to make sure that, if our body is operating under high level of stress, that's not going to serve us well to even function in the job and perform well. So just thinking about those things. But we're going to jump right into why alignment matters more than just having a title. And we're going to start with, thinking about alignment builds real career power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're moving into 2026 here at BCW is we're talking about career power,
Mm-hmm.
making power moves, right? Making sure that not only are you protecting your career, that you're advocating for yourself, and that you're strategically making moves that are elevating you for power and positioning, not just for, to have the title, but making sure you are in alignment. Every move you should make should be positioning you for that. And of course,
Yeah.
we have to work through all of those specific things that we are challenged with on a day-to-day basis, which is different workplace personalities
That's
and
right. That's
high
right.
high level of workloads and putting out fires. But it still needs to be in alignment with who you are for you to even.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. I think we lost Sherry. We are going to.
It kicked me out. Don't know why.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! But glad you're back. Glad you're back.
Yes.
Really, really quickly before we transition, we had Delia Meadows. Hey, thank you for joining us. Saying if the answer to all those questions is no, can we professionally say no? Yes, absolutely. We absolutely can professionally say no. And here's what they're going to do if you professionally say no to increased work, without compensation, without a promotion, without what have you. They're either going to rise up to the occasion
Hmm.
and say, hey, you know what? You're right. Because it's their job to try to get as much of you as they can at the lowest cost.
Oh
That is the
yeah,
job
good
of the
job.
employer, right? So they're either going to rise to the occasion and say, yes, you know what, you're right. You do deserve more compensation. You do deserve a promotion. You do deserve to be at the table in the meeting, access, what have you. Or they're going to say, no, we can't do that and try and push it on somebody else, which is not your problem.
Not your
That's
problem at
not your
all.
problem at all. And you can go on with what you are doing, but they have, they have two options. Those are
Yeah,
usually.
because you absolutely, and you're right, Nakia. Nakia says that alignment is the priority. Absolutely, is the priority. You have to
That's
make
right.
sure that it's in alignment with you. And I think,
That's right.
um, whether we are young professionals, mid-career, even seniors, I think sometimes even it doesn't
Mhm.
matter what level you are because it depends on your values and what you're after, right? But you still have to
That's right.
think about these types of specific things when
That's
you're
right.
looking at your career, because the choices you make can either elevate your career or it can stall it out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yep. And you want to make sure
And
that you're, go ahead,
and,
Makita.
and I was going to say, and let's be honest, titles change, and what is a director here might be a manager or a VP at a different
Mhm.
company.
Yep.
So what you're doing, your impact, your alignment, your purpose, and being able to actually story tell all of that, I think, is what really really
Oh,
matters.
I love how you said the storytelling piece, Makita. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
What
Storytelling is so important.
And that leads us into the next one, which is alignment supports long-term career security.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when we're looking at every, the moves that you make within your career should be setting you up for long-term career security, not just focus.
Yeah.
And I think what happens to a lot of us, and you may not want to admit it to yourself, some of you are savvy at doing this, and some of you are savvy at doing something else. But a
Yeah.
lot of times we may not focus on establishing a career, so to speak, and just focus on the job that we're in and being
Mhm,
successful in
mhm,
the role that we're in at that job, instead of looking at the
mhm.
bigger picture of making sure that you have a successful long-term career, which means, are you positioning yourself to be sought after,
Right.
or to be recruited by someone else? And the only way that can happen is to increase some of your visibility through your network that
That's
you
right.
have,
That's right.
to do that. Because if that job falls tomorrow, you want to make sure you've got a robust network to get the word out about you're looking, or maybe even get a referral, because we know your network is your net worth.
That's right.
And we know that, the current climate of how jobs are being obtained is
Mhm.
not through these website portals
No.
that has hundreds of jobs, but
Right,
maybe hundreds of candidates in them. So
right, right, right. It's word of mouth, it's recommendations, it's who knows who because of the impact that they made at, a different company, or the impact and or the story that they've been able to tell because they saw them on this panel or at this event or what have you. So utilize your, yeah, I,
mhm.
absolutely right. Utilize your network.
The next thing too, I think is important when it comes to making sure that why alignment matters more than just having a title, is that it honors your whole self.
Hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, you deserve work that respects your values, your voice, your well-being,
Hmm.
and that the success that you are seeking should not compromise any of that.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Completely agree. And then I think just personally, when you're able to give your whole self, when you're honoring yourself, then you're producing your best work. You're happy because you're happiest,
Hmm.
right? You are completely inundated and you're enjoying it. And hope, sometimes it doesn't even feel like work, right? If we get to that sort of upper echelon, right? So again, I think it goes back to the impact that you are able to make is
Yeah.
greater when you're honoring yourself and bringing your whole self to work.
Yeah, and just think about it from a perspective of, and this we're talking about alignment honors yourself at every stage of your career
Mhm.
you are in.
Mhm.
It shouldn't just
Mhm.
be, oh, I've reached the pinnacle of the heights of where I want to be. Now I'm
Mhm.
happy. No, it's, you need to be satisfied and happy at each
Mhm.
level. And your inner being will let you know when it's time for the growth, when
Right.
it's time, when it's calling to be elevated.
That's right.
Or you learned everything that you need to learn at that level, and now your inner being saying, hey, yes, time to
Mhm.
for something next, for the
Mhm.
next level. So it's
Mhm.
about honoring yourself at each level that you in stage that you're in your career, because that's where the joy and happiness comes in, and it keeps you open to learning more, and really becoming in really developing your superpowers in a way that once you arrive to that, that pinnacle role that you're looking for, I mean, you'll be a beast once
That's
you get
right.
there,
That's right.
if
That's right.
you're really paying attention to that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I think that's really critical. I know we've got a couple minutes left. Makita, any last things you want to share around alignment, being in alignment versus chasing titles?
Um, well, again, like I said, titles change. They do not mean the same when you're in corporate America or within the workplace. Every institution is different. So going after um, aligning your career to what you want. You all know, I have said this a multitude of times. Be married to your goals, not the job, not
Hmm.
the company, not the people that you're working with, but your goals in order to really get what you want out of your career. Um, so I'll leave you all with that. But happy, I think we have some more time, so I have some time for questions if you do, Sherry.
Yes, I do.
Um,
I have
so,
time for questions. Absolutely.
so please, y'all, ask your questions. Let us know what you're going through and if we can help at all. But Sherry, oh, we have Zalea saying
My
my
inner
inner
being is
being is
screaming.
screaming right now.
It is screaming right now.
uh,
She's
I
like,
bet. Let us know what's going on. Let us know what's going on.
yeah, please. And then we've got we've got a few minutes for questions. So please, this is a great time to ask. Um, Helen says, as a Black female entrepreneur in the UK, it's great to hear this dialogue. Oh,
Yes.
Helen, we're
Hey,
so
Helen.
glad.
Yes, we're glad
Welcome.
we're
Love
able
your
to help.
photo too. Love the
Yeah.
blouse in your
Yeah.
photo.
Yeah. I gotta say, I love the UK. I've got a brother and his family there over there, so I always have a great time. So thanks for joining in.
Yes, thank you so much for joining. We love this. Yes, so always this is a great time right now because of the type of administration that we're in, how things are shifting and changing in the workforce with jobs, the uncertainty that's happening with not knowing
Yeah.
where things are going. I think
Yeah.
right now is a great time to do an inventory of
Hmm.
how are things in alignment with where you currently are, and being
Yeah.
very strategic and thoughtful about
Mhm.
positioning yourself in your current
Yeah.
role and
Yeah.
thinking more around I mean, not job protection, but career protection and
Yeah. Yeah.
advocacy for yourself,
Yeah.
because this is a very, and I hate to call this job market volatile, but when it's a bit, but because it's taking individuals such a long time to
Mhm.
obtain employment, once they
Mhm.
either are laid off or whatever the case circumstances have they are, we have to really think about currently where we are and making sure that we're clear about our positioning and our roles, and just making sure everything is still in alignment. And I think it's something we need to do anyway. Is just making sure, what I call doing more of a career alignment check, right?
Mhm.
Just kind of
Mhm.
checking off and
Mhm.
making sure everything is still,
Yeah.
in alignment with who I am and what I'm trying to
Mhm.
accomplish and achieve,
Yeah.
how trying to grow and
Yeah.
elevate,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
type of things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. All
So
right. So it says trying to scale into entrepreneurship. We understand gathering lots of mentors and taking lots of courses, still stuck in corporate and hard to move as a single mom. We understand.
been there, so
Mhm.
yeah, so completely understand. And I think the main thing you do is just to try to find some balance as you
Mhm.
try to scale into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Keep gathering those mentors. Take the Like you said, you're doing the right things, in terms of opening yourself up to educating yourself and the growth. So just keep doing what you're doing, and then eventually you'll that plan will come together as you
Mhm.
gather that the knowledge you're gaining, it will come together for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Sherry, can you talk to titles potentially as a trap?
Yes, yeah. So how titles become a trap is that, it's, to me, in my mind, it's more of a twofold thing, because sometimes we feel like we need the title, um, for additional money, or
Mhm.
sometimes we need the title for, or we feel like, depending on, we need the title for to be able to exercise certain gifts and talents that we have.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
one thing that I'm glad you did mention this though, Makita, because the one thing I think that we don't do enough of as Black women, and this is something that
Mhm.
we're moving a lot into 2026, is thinking about we as sometimes, and please, I'm up for debate on this, okay? If you all want to talk about this. But I do feel as though, as Black women, because we are the most educated, right? We probably the females with the most degrees and things like that. But I do think that sometimes we always chase titles, and what we're doing is chasing titles, but we don't think about accessing, gaining power and positioning when we gain those titles, or
Yeah.
thinking about how are we gaining power and positioning when if we're trying to obtain a certain role. And I think we need to start thinking that way. So don't think about just having the title. Just think of me. You need to think about, do I have power in this position? Is it allowing me to be influential? Is it positioning me to have influence and create change in the
Mm-hmm.
role I am? And what am I truly up against in order to do that? I don't think we think enough about, are we positioning ourselves to have power and influence? Or would
Not
we
at
just
all.
want the title? We want the title and the money, but we're
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about having the power and influence that we need
Mm-hmm.
to really help to sustain, and protect us when we're in those roles. So that's,
Absolutely right.
yeah. So that's the mindset shift that I think we need to take now more than ever, is to
Mm-hmm.
think about making sure that we are obtaining power and positioning versus just the title. And I'm gonna tell you, and for people who's gonna watch the replay of this, our counterparts do it all the time. They don't chase these titles because they're
That's
looking for
right.
the money. They're
That's
chasing
right.
these titles because they want the power.
That's right.
And when we start to shift our mindsets to think about making sure that when we are trying to be in alignment with these roles, are these
Mm-hmm.
roles are going to be positioning us for power and influence? Or are we just here to, create, meet our KPIs
Mm-hmm.
and get our
Mm-hmm.
paycheck and go home?
Mm-hmm.
We have to
Mm-hmm.
think about that, because power and
That's right.
positioning is what's going to help you sustain and being able to deal with those harder, difficult peers of people in leadership that you work with. Also positioning you for even preparing for that next level. So you got to start thinking more strategically than just, even when you're talking about being in alignment and with your values and all of those things, making sure that, is this role helping me to be in alignment with, am I getting some power in this position? Am I getting some influence? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, when you start coming up against your peers and colleagues and you start having some conflict, you're having conflict not because the title, is because they want that power, they want that
Mm-hmm.
influence. And that's
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're that's where the conflict comes in, because that's how they see these roles, and we don't look at it that way, and
That's
we
right.
need to start looking at it that way.
Yes, we do. I think that's a great, 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 great point, Sherry. So we got some feedback on your comment, and Zelaya, again, I am so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. She says imposter syndrome kicks in before that, I think. I
Hmm.
think that what a great comment, because you know what? It absolutely might, because we might be that first person up there.
Yeah.
We might be that only person, that only woman, that only black woman, that only black person, um, up there. And I think this is one of the reasons why these sort of spaces are extremely important. Your board of directors, your mentors, your champions are really important, because I think that to combat imposter syndrome, we need some real affirmations.
Hmm.
We need to kind of sit down and journal and rethink about all the great things that we did, the work that was 10 times harder for us. Um, and I think we need to remember that. But I think you're absolutely right. Imposter syndrome is such a disease that we have that we have to
Yeah.
deal with in our community. But
And even as
imposter syndrome is
individuals,
fake. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And we have to kind of, start to, once that starts to, you start to feel it kind of come up to the
Mhm,
surface, you've got to
mhm,
find a way to either push it down or eliminate that. And, don't look for external validation, but just think about showing up in your, who you are and the gifts that you've been given within you, innately, and showing up in that and being confident in it, but also
mhm.
having the skill sets to push back, or if someone else has something to say about it, to be able to advocate for yourself.
Yeah,
Advocacy is important. Advocacy builds
yeah,
confidence.
yeah,
So when you learn how to do it strategically, in a way it does empower you to build the confidence to be able to recognize when it creeps up and then try to eliminate it. But
yeah.
I do want to. Hey Terry, how are you, Terry?
Hey, Terry.
Um, she says, as black women in higher education, it's hard to advance in my career because it's male dominated, and female Caucasians work hard to
Mhm,
keep youth from advancing, there's always an excuse to keep one in the same position. Of course, it's always
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Higher education, uh, politics, culture is a that's a whole nother beast by itself. And to
Mhm.
me, a little bit psychologically abusive, to
Yeah.
be honest. I find,
Mhm.
and I'm not just saying that. I'm saying this from the stories that have been shared in terms of experiencing navigating your career through in higher education. So that is another beast to kind of work through, and a lot of political savvy you need to have navigating higher education for sure. So I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where setting boundaries is important. I think that's where self advocacy is definitely critical, Terry, in higher education. And finding someone who is an advisor who can really be that
Mhm.
higher level sponsor. 'Cause you absolutely need someone who is a buffer that
Yeah.
can speak for you and advocate for you when you're not in the room. So you
Okay.
have to find that individual and hire someone you could trust in that as well.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
Oh,
No, go ahead. Since Nakia
so
says
we.
we are chasing validation. Absolutely. And that's so right, Nakia. We need to stop chasing validation because,
Mhm.
and Makia has heard, we've talked about this a lot. Makia and
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
around you,
Mhm.
you know, you don't need validation, specifically when you take it, when you accept a job, all the validation you need is that they offered you the role.
That's
You're
right.
the one they selected for the job. That's
That's
all the
right.
validation you need. Now,
That's
what
right.
you go in and start to build on is building up your power, your influence, and being able to navigate through that. And you hear me say power and influence. You heard what I said,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I'm not talking
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
going in there and getting a pat on the back because you were the first one to get the report in. No, we're talking
No.
about,
No.
yeah,
That's right.
we're
That's
talking about
right.
changing this mindset. How do you gain power and influence in your role? And there's so many different ways to do that. But we have to learn how to navigate that in our spaces. And we probably need to do a whole workshop on that alone by
I,
itself.
I think so. Power and influence is the key, and that's come up multiple times. So I think maybe we should. So
Yeah.
Terry also says, I've also seen Black women who are gatekeepers and want to keep other Black women down. Yep.
Yeah. You're always
We've
going to
seen
get
it.
that.
We've all seen it. We have all seen it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're all going to have that. But then again, there's a way to also deal with those women. You got to understand the personality types that you're working with. That way
Mhm.
you can work with them accordingly.
Mhm.
And then knowing and having the type of communication style to deliver ways to set boundaries with these individuals in ways that is respectful, but also to let them know, don't play with me.
That's right.
you know
That's
so
right.
you just have to know when to read the room and know when it's appropriate to have those conversations.
Mhm. Mhm. Right.
Vanetta,
Alrighty.
yeah, go ahead and read that. Go ahead and read that, Makita.
Alrighty.
Mhm.
Vanetta says, I think some of us haven't had opportunities to move strategically due to past economic circumstances and lack of knowledge. Agreed. How does one begin to think from a strategic standpoint? Where would you suggest starting? Sherry, you want to start with that one?
You would start with us, girl. Okay. You want to start with
Yeah.
BCWN.
Yeah.
This is the kind of conversations that we have. This is what we are doing. So one of the things that I have and McKee and I both have come together and started to brainstorm around what does this look like for this next level of career development, professional development for Black women in the current climate that we're in. And that's why we're talking so much more around power and
Mhm.
influence, is
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
is the mindset that we have to shift to now, is to start thinking strategically around how other counterparts that we work with think when they are vying for these roles.
Right.
They're actually wanting that power and influence, and that's something we need to move towards. And so again, I love your transparency, Vanetta, around thinking around strategically due to your past economic circumstance and lack of knowledge. And I think that understanding how power and influence works early, even as an entry level or direct or individual contributor role,
Mhm.
it starts there, because you can still have power and influence in that role when you recognize how it shows up. in your individual roles, then it changes as you
Mhm.
start to level up.
Yeah.
So
And like Sherry said, starts with us. We can help with those career audits. We can help with those, um, help you with the conversation of what is it that you want. First of all, what is it that you want out of your career? I think that's the first question you've got to ask yourself. The second question is, where are you currently? And then we have to figure out what's the gap here that we need to fill, right? What's
yeah,
this gap analysis? Is it you need to build up some more skills? Is it that you need to network? Is it that you need to get your two best friends, like I say, HR and finance? You should find a best friend over over in those two places to help you kind of see things in a way that we often aren't able to see things. So, like Sherry said, start off with the conversation with us.
yeah. And then, part of understanding, you know part of moving into understanding power and influence and how you gain that in the workplace, especially as a Black female, we do have to navigate and work through the imposter
Mm-hmm,
syndrome piece that some of
mm-hmm,
us may experience. And also, there is a time to change or shift our mindset around how we look at growing our careers, and the advice that we were probably given early on as young
mm-hmm,
professionals, and
mm-hmm,
changing that, because things have changed. I mean,
mm-hmm.
it's not the same anymore. So you do have to have that mindset shift and move in ways that that's in alignment with who you are, but understand the nature of how careers actually evolve and develop.
That's a
And it's
really good
not in the
point.
way that we used to think they are. So that's where the stuck come. That's where you get stuck, because you
Mm-hmm,
think working hard and having the 5 degrees is it. No, we are the workforce is now going back to, and I talked about this in our trends in 2026 last
that's
2 weeks
right.
ago. It's
Yep,
going back to skill based versus
that's right.
education, where it was all
That's
about,
right.
if you have a degree, we'll talk to you. Now it's about, do you have the skill set? And honestly, I saw this as a shift. It should have been 15 years ago. It should have been a shift to where it should have
Mm-hmm,
been more skill based versus
mm-hmm,
education, because
mm-hmm,
college
mm-hmm,
degree is good for certain things and certain types of roles, but there
mm-hmm.
are college degrees for certain types of roles that you cannot obtain this. You can't obtain the skill sets for those roles unless you're actually doing the job.
That's right.
That's truth.
That's
That's
right.
facts.
That's right.
So, coming back around to now, we're looking at skill based being is how, recruiters are starting to look more at that versus education, and having a nice balance of that is critical. And it should have been like this 15 years ago. So I'm gonna get
Absolutely
on my
right.
soapbox about that.
Absolutely right. Skills based.
Hmm.
Yep.
So skills based. So think about now spending your time making sure that you are getting on, that you have access to projects that help to elevate your skill set. Certifications are always going to be great to have, but
Mhm.
making sure that you are gaining the ability to hone in and elevate and cultivate your skill level more than anything, and how you show that, the receipts as to how you accomplish that. That's not going to
That's
change.
right.
They're still going to want
Yep.
to see those accomplishments on your resume, on your
Yep.
LinkedIn, you know, through your performance.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Agreed. Agreed. Great question. Great question.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for sharing that, Fanny. That was a great one. All right, we went over time. I didn't realize this we went on 15 minutes.
That's okay. That is okay.
Yep. Any other questions for us? Look, we got Makeda a little bit longer before she got to go. Any other
Thank
questions for us?
you.
I do want to share this career tip, because we always share. I think
Hmm.
I still have it. I don't know if I still have it or not. My career tip.
I'll, there we go.
You got it
All
up?
right.
There it
So,
is.
yeah, I have it up. So, career smart tip, titles look impressive, but alignment is what builds power.
Mhm.
A role that aligns with your strengths, values, and long term direction gives you influence, clarity, and staying power.
Yeah, think about that for just a moment, right? I don't look impressive,
Mhm.
but alignment builds power. And when you start thinking about building power, no, we're not saying you need to chase power, but what we're saying is that you need to start strategically thinking about how power can help to grow your career, protect your career, and then having the advocacy skill sets you need to
That's
be
right.
able to advocate for yourself when you come up against challenges in your career
Mhm.
as you tend to grow it. We do have a question. Do we have time? I think we have a couple more
Yeah,
questions that just popped up,
yeah,
Makita.
absolutely.
You want to read that?
Yeah. So how to know what skills are valuable for me to acquire and not waste time getting random certifications? I think this is a great question. And one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, you have to start off with is what is it that you want? And then you've got to do some understand. You got to do some digging. You got to do your homework. Talk to some folks, and understanding what is it that you did. Did you get certifications? Are you utilizing them, or was it the experience that was really important? Right. To Sherry's point, some certifications, some degrees, some of those documents, that paper you do need, but sometimes you don't. I think another way to understand what skills you need to acquire is talk to HR.
Hmm.
HR should be there. They're your friends. Again, two best friends, and every workplace you should have one in HR and one in finance. Understand from HR, the recruiters, the talent acquisition team, what skills are they looking for the position that you actually want.
Yep. I love that. And Zazea, thank you. It looked like she downloaded our app and actually it's part of our community now.
Thank
Thank you so much
you.
for that. I just saw her
Yeah,
message come
yeah,
through. So I love
yeah,
that. Thank you so much for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So that was a good question. You and
Great
being
question.
and this is about also too. I want to add to what Makita said. You got to think about what certifications are valuable for your industry. So you got to do that research to
Mhm,
know what those
mhm,
are, and then how is that certification going to position you for elevation and
mhm,
positioning, and sometimes you may not necessarily be looking for power, so to speak, at that very moment in that specific role, but you absolutely need to be positioned right. If you're going,
mhm,
what I mean by positioning is that you are in a position to where the work that you are doing is valued, it makes an impact, and that it is allowed to happen, and you're
yeah,
not being pigeonholed. So
yeah,
again, when we think about power and positioning, it's not just about, like you saying, you want to hold the power, so to speak, like that, but positioning is important, because if you're in a position to where your work is valued and you're making an impact, that's power, and you can increase that.
that's
So
right.
it's just think about changing how you look at this and making sure that everything is still worth your time and effort that you're putting in to cultivate this career that you're working hard to develop.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Great
think that.
question. Thank you. All right, Vanetta says, I agree. I've had similar conversations with others regarding skills based versus degree. Especially in corporate, you'll find out VPs have a high school diploma. Absolutely right.
And you wonder how they got that job, right? So again, it goes back to,
Yeah,
power and positioning. That person was positioned right. He had the right individuals advocating for him. Had the right network,
yeah.
and that is how he was able to get that VP role, regardless of whether he had the right skill sets for it or not. Right.
That's
So
right.
that's what we're talking about, is that you have to think about how our counterparts navigate this.
Mhm,
It's not about the title, it's about the power and positioning they're looking for in these roles. And
yep,
when you start to think about that, and then think about, how does power and positioning help you?
mhm,
How will it help you? And so
mhm,
that's,
mhm.
thinking at that next level is critical. Zelia says, are either of us available for mentorship? We are here to support you, Zelia. So you're already in the app. Thank
That's
you so
right.
much for that. So connect with us, please. And then we definitely have tons of content and access to things to help to support you.
That's right.
Hmm. I love that. Yeah. So that VP person, yeah, we already know probably how he got that
Mhm,
for
mhm.
sure.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
All right. So
Alrighty.
that is our career smart tip for the day. And then if you all don't have any other questions, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah. Yeah. This was fun. I'm happy to be back.
Yes. Now, question for you all before we go. And I've been kind of contemplating this, Makita. I meant to ask you about this
Mhm,
before we
mhm,
leave.
mhm.
Should we keep Career Tip Tuesday at 30 minutes or should we go the whole 60 minutes moving forward now? What do you think?
Hmm. My first thought was we should let the spirit move and whatever. And whatever it is for the day it is, but we know we've got schedules. Um, I honestly, I think if we want to do an hour, we need to move it to noon.
I do think so
Just
too.
my thoughts.
But I guess we can let you know what we'll do a poll inside
Mhm.
of our our page and see what our viewers think. If they think we should stay at 30 minutes or we should do an hour.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. All right. We do have one last person that said, where is the app? You can download our app from the App Store or Google Play Store. So if you have Android, so Apple or Android, just go to your store and you can download it from there. Stephanie said 3 hours.
We'll see. Once we start to get into 3 hours, that sounds to me like a coach's roundtable. So
Yeah, that does
that's
like a
that's
coach's
a
round.
whole nother event. That's a whole
Yes, it is. Terry says 60 minutes. We'll do a poll inside of our on our
Mhm.
company page and see what you all say. Should we keep it at 30 minutes or 60 minutes? And
Yeah.
kind of if we do, we'll have to move it to noon, but we'll see
Yeah.
what they say for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So all right, good. All right. Well, this has been great, you all. We
Yeah.
definitely went over time. We did a whole hour today, which is our first time. We haven't done a whole
Mhm.
hour since we started. So
A long time,
in
yeah.
a long
Mhm.
time. Yes. Lorraine says she said, I enjoyed it, whether 30, 60, or whatever. She's like, Lorraine just said, I'm down. Whatever y'all do, I'm down. She said, whatever y'all do, I'm here for it. Well,
That's
this replay will be available on our LinkedIn page. You can
mhm,
always go back and
mhm,
watch it. So we always leave them
mhm,
up for people to go back and watch. So you
mhm,
can't do that. But please,
mhm,
we would love for you to get connected and be a part of our community. Download our app. We have a lot of amazing resources and to help to elevate and support you. And this is what this is for: is to stay connected even after our Career Tip Tuesday is over. Stay connected with us by downloading our app, and joining and being a part of our community. To be a part of the community is free, so don't worry about the cost. Just download the app and get in and say hello.
that's right.
We'll and we can take the conversation even further from there.
Mhm.
All right, you all. We'll go ahead and shut it out for today. Any last words, Makita, before we go?
No, no last words. Just, if you haven't done your career audit, go ahead and do it. It's the top of the year. So we have 10 days until January is over. Go ahead and do it.
And we do have a mini career audit on our website.
Hmm.
You can go to the learn and grow section of our website and click on the tab, and we have a mini career audit, and you can take that, and it'll give you just kind of where you are and what you would need in terms of support,
Hmm.
and then kind of give you a little bit of an idea of how BCWN can support you moving forward.
That's right.
All right, you all. Well, it was great to connect with you all. I hope to see you all in the community in our app, and then we will just see you all in 2 weeks. Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.